The core of the Marxian conception of history and of the future of history through communism is that the nature of man can be changed, a change in the nature of man. In order to achieve that nature, the change in the nature of man, theoretically, you must first ask no questions. I'm quoting now Marx, I'm not interpreting. No questions concerning the structure of humanity. Now, the question of humanity is always existence and the ground of existence. I do not exist out of myself, but I exist out of something. From where do I come, where do I go, what is the meaning of existence, or how I was thrown into this world, and all that. This set of questions. The questions of the ground, or as it's technically called, the etiological question, etiological change. The etiology is the ground. Now, this ground question, the etiological question, is a fundamental question of human existence. In order to get now human existence into the manipulative sphere, where you can do with human existence what you want, you must first abolish the structure in human existence which prevents you from doing what you want with man. That is, if man does not exist out of himself, then he is what he is and you can't do anything about it. But if he exists out of himself, all you have to do is to manipulate or change his consciousness in such a manner that he will become the man that you want him to become. So you can invent a recipe for getting a false consciousness into a true consciousness, and you've changed the nature of man. But first you must abolish, of course, the structure of existence, it's the ground. You must make a man self-realizable. Self-realization is a term invented by Marx. It's in neologism, a bit of existence. Self-realization is a Marxian invention. In order to put over the idea man produces himself, is not determined by any outside human force, so that another man can change your consciousness according to his conception of the truth, how it should be changed. And therefore he makes the first postulate. If anybody should raise the question, but man does not produce himself, but man is there and is constituted from some ground of reality about which we know nothing, except you can call it God or something like that. Don't ask me such questions. I'm quoting now. Be a socialist man and accept my argument. Here you have a definition of what a socialist man is. A man who doesn't ask questions. And now, how does one produce such a change in man? Marx had two recipes in succession. The second one developed because the first one did not work. The first one was developed in 1845 in the German ideology. He assumed that the nature of man would change through the blood intoxication in the course of revolutionary action. Blood intoxication. Unquote. Blutrausch. Now in 1848 there was plenty of revolutionary action. And there was plenty of blood intoxication. But no nature of man changed. It was a great disappointment. Therefore, in the 60s then, in the critique of the Gotha program, Marx developed a second recipe for changing the nature of man. It will take a little time. It cannot be done by simply a few little street fighting and bloodshedding and so on, the blood intoxication. It will take the dictatorship of the proletariat for a number of years to produce that change in man, in the nature of man. The idea was that such a thing could happen through a dictatorship of the proletariat, probably within the lifetime of the living. That was changed then by Lenin in 1917 in State and Revolution. Lenin was a much shrewder politician in that respect. He said it may take 2 centuries, which means in practice, whether the whole story is true and the dictatorship of the proletariat will change the nature of man, nobody will ever know, because in 200 years we all are dead. In the meanwhile, but he demands we should be communists. Please, I'm not now interpreting or distorting anything. I'm practically giving the quotation. This is a simple sort of shell game for counterfeit.